First contact. The Zindari exploration vessel, Starweaver, drifted through the outer reaches of the Orion Arm, its crystalline sensors probing the darkness for signs of intelligent life. Captain Vera, her translucent appendages shifting with anticipation, watched as her crew conducted their routine survey. The Zindari had mapped countless systems over centuries, but they had yet to encounter another spacefaring civilization that could match their technological advancement. That was about to change. Captain. First observer Kin's voice resonated through the neural network. Unknown vessel detected at bearing 47.3. Energy signature. It's massive. Vera glided to the observation deck, her bioluminescent form casting a soft glow. The ship that filled their view defied comprehension. A behemoth of dark metal and pulsing energy cores, it stretched nearly 3 kilometers from bow to stern. Angular surfaces caught the light of distant stars, and weapon ports lined its flanks like sleeping predators. Classification. Vera asked, though she already knew the answer. Nothing in their database matched this design. Unknown, Captain, but it's actively scanning us. Their technology. It's not using any crystalline matrices or biological components. It's purely mechanical. Before Vera could respond, a transmission cut through their communications field. The message came in perfect Zindari language patterns, though the voice was unlike anything they'd heard before. This is Captain Sarah Chen of the United Earth Federation vessel Hyperion. We come in peace and welcome diplomatic contact. The bridge crew exchanged nervous glances. Their ship, considered large by Zindari standards, would fit in the Hyperion's landing bay. The humans had matched their language in minutes, developed space travel without biological integration, and built vessels that dwarfed anything in known space. Greetings, Captain Chen. I am Captain Vera of the Starweaver. We are peaceful explorers and would be honored to establish diplomatic relations. Excellent, Chen replied. Would you care to come aboard? We can arrange for environmental compatibility. As Vera's shuttle approached the Hyperion's docking bay, she noticed something that sent ripples of astonishment through her neural network. The human vessel's hull showed signs of battle damage. Recent repairs patches visible under higher magnification. This wasn't just a warship, it was a veteran of actual combat. The docking procedure revealed another surprise. The humans had already constructed a perfect replica of Zindari atmospheric conditions in their reception area. In the time it took to establish first contact, they had analyzed Zindari biology and engineered a compatible environment. Captain Chen greeted them personally. Her environment suited a masterpiece of engineering that allowed her to enter the Zindari atmosphere chamber without contamination risks. Welcome aboard the Hyperion, she said, her translator rendering perfect harmonics. We're glad to finally meet another spacefaring species in this sector. Your vessel is impressive, Vera managed, her translator struggling to convey the depth of her awe. We've never encountered anything quite like it. Chen smiled behind her faceplate. The Hyperion is one of our older ships, actually. A Titan-class battlecruiser from the previous generation. She's served us well in defending our colonies. Colonies? Vera's neural network pulsed with surprise. You've expanded beyond your home system. Of course, humanity has established 17 major colony worlds and numerous outposts across this arm of the galaxy. The Hyperion is part of our rapid response fleet, ensuring their safety. As they toured the vessel, Vera and her team witnessed something that challenged their understanding of technological progress. The humans hadn't developed their technology along a single path like most species. Instead, they had pursued countless different approaches simultaneously, combining them in ways that seemed impossible. Traditional engines worked alongside quantum drives. Biological computers interfaced with mechanical systems. Artificial gravity generated by both gravitonic manipulation and centrifugal force. The humans hadn't waited to perfect one technology before moving to the next. They had developed everything at once, taking what worked and discarding what didn't with breathtaking speed. How long has your species been spacefaring? Vera asked, dreading the answer. We achieved our first orbital flight just over 200 years ago, Chen replied casually. The Zindari delegation froze. 200 years. Their own species had taken 2,000 years to progress from orbital flight to their current level of technology. The humans had done it in a tenth of that time, and they'd already surpassed them. As they concluded their tour in the ship's tactical center, Chen's communication officer interrupted with an urgent message. Captain, we're detecting multiple signatures entering the system. Configuration matches the Ravager fleet we encountered in the Proxima sector. Chen's expression hardened. How many? 3 carrier groups, ma'am. They're on an attack vector. Ravagers? Vera asked, her translator struggling with the unfamiliar term. A hostile species we've encountered before, Chen explained, her voice grim. They don't communicate. They just attack and strip planets bare of resources. We've been tracking them for months. She turned to Vera. Captain, I suggest you return to your vessel immediately. We'll handle this. But there are dozens of ships approaching. Vera protested. Even your vessel. Chen's smile stopped her mid-sentence. The Hyperion isn't alone, Captain. We never are. As if on cue, space itself seemed to tear open around them as ship after ship dropped out of faster-than-light travel. Each bore the same markings as the Hyperion, each just as massive, just as armed. Battle Group 7, reporting for action, a new voice announced over the command channel. Vera watched in stunned silence as humanity revealed its true might. The Hyperion hadn't been an exception. It had been just one example of humanity's standard level of technology. As the human battle fleet moved to engage the incoming threat, Vera realized that her people's first contact hadn't just been with a new species. They had encountered a civilization that would reshape the galaxy. Battle stations. The void erupted with light as the human battle group moved into formation. Captain Vera, now safely aboard the Starweaver, watched in amazement as the fleet executed a series of precise maneuvers that seemed to defy the laws of physics. The massive ships moved with the agility of vessels a fraction of their size. All ships, combat positions. Captain Chen's voice echoed through the shared command channel. Starweaver, please maintain your current position behind our defensive line. Battle Group 7, prepare for hostile engagement. The approaching Ravager fleet emerged from hyperspace like a swarm of angular obsidian insects. Their ships, covered in sharp crystalline protrusions, radiated an otherworldly energy that the Zindari sensors couldn't properly analyze. But the humans seemed unfazed. Standard Ravager deployment pattern, a tactical officer reported. 3 carrier groups, supported by roughly 200 striker craft. Time to engagement, 3 minutes. Chen's voice remained steady. Execute Protocol Thunderbird. Carriers, launch interceptor squadrons. Cruisers, prepare point defense grids. Battleships, target their command ships. What followed was unlike anything in Zindari military history. The human fleet didn't just fight. It danced. Ships moved in perfect coordination, covering each other's blind spots, focusing fire with devastating precision. Fighter squadrons wove impossible patterns through space, their pilots pulling maneuvers that should have turned them to paste against their cockpits. How are they surviving those G-forces? First observer Kin asked in wonder. The answer came as they patched into the human tactical feed. The fighters weren't traditionally piloted at all. Each human pilot lay suspended in a neural interface pod, their consciousness directly linked to their craft. They felt every movement, every turn, but their physical bodies remained safely cushioned in Zerog gel. The Ravager fleet struck hard, their crystalline weapons lashing out with beams of coherent energy. But the human ships seemed prepared for everything. Their shields flickered and adapted, changing frequency to match and deflect the attacks. When one ship's shields weakened, another would slide into position to cover it. Remarkable. Vera breathed. Their entire fleet acts as a single organism. That's the beauty of the neural command network, Chen explained over the channel. Every captain maintains individual control, but we share a tactical overview that lets us coordinate instantly. Think of it as a democracy where everyone votes at the speed of thought. A massive Ravager carrier broke through the defensive line, its weapons charging for a killing blow against one of the human cruisers. Before Vera could even shout a warning, 3 human destroyers executed a perfect pincer movement. Their combined fire struck the carrier at precisely calculated points, causing a cascade failure that ripped the massive ship apart. "Target their field generators," Chen ordered. "Don't let them establish their gravity wells." The human fleet moved as one, concentrating fire on specific points of the Ravager ships. The Zindari crew watched in amazement as the seemingly random attacks revealed their true purpose. The humans were forcing the Ravagers to adjust their shield harmonics in a specific pattern. "Now," Chen commanded. Every human ship fired simultaneously, their weapons synchronized to exploit the forced shield frequency. The Ravager fleet's defenses collapsed like a house of cards, leaving them exposed to a devastating follow-up barrage. "Ravager fleet is in full retreat," the tactical officer reported. 2 carrier groups destroyed. The 3rd is attempting emergency FTL jump. "Let them go," Chen ordered. "They'll carry word back to their hierarchy. This sector is protected." As the dust settled, Vera's crew began analyzing the battle data. The humans hadn't just won. They had completely outmaneuvered an enemy that had superior numbers and comparable technology. Their victory hadn't come from better weapons or stronger shields, but from an unprecedented level of coordination and tactical innovation. "Captain Vera," Chen's voice carried a note of apology. "I hope this display hasn't alarmed you. We would have preferred a more peaceful first contact, but sometimes the universe has other plans." "Alarmed?" Vera's translator struggled to convey her mixture of awe and relief. "Captain Chen, you just saved our lives. But more than that, you've shown us something we never thought possible. Your people fight as one, yet maintain their individuality. You've mastered technology, yet haven't lost your intuition and creativity. That's humanity for you." Chen replied with a subtle pride in her voice. "We never could decide on the right way to do anything, so we learned to embrace every approach that works. Unity through diversity, strength through adaptation." As the human fleet regrouped, conducting repairs with astonishing speed, Vera knew she was witnessing a turning point in galactic history. The Zindari had always believed that technological progress followed a linear path, that civilizations developed in predictable patterns. The humans had shattered that assumption. They hadn't just developed faster or built bigger ships. They had fundamentally reimagined what was possible, combining technologies in ways that no other species had considered. Their greatest weapon wasn't their massive ships or advanced weapons. It was their ability to think differently, to adapt, to work together, while maintaining the spark of individual innovation. "Captain Chen," Vera said, making a decision that would change the course of her people's history. "I believe it's time we discussed a formal alliance between our species." Chen's response carried a warm smile. "I was hoping you'd say that. Welcome to the beginning of a new era, Captain Vera." Desperate hours. 3 weeks after the first battle, the Hyperion's war room was filled with both human and Zindari officers. Holograms danced in the specially maintained atmospheric chamber, showing the movement of Ravager fleets across multiple sectors. The news wasn't good. "They're adapting to our tactics," Admiral Hassan reported, his weathered face illuminated by the tactical display. "The Ravagers have begun incorporating quantum shielding into their ships. Our synchronized strikes aren't as effective anymore." Captain Chen nodded grimly. "They're learning faster than any enemy we encountered." "Captain Vera, have your people finished analyzing their crystal tech?" Vera's bioluminescence pulsed with concern as she gestured to the technical readouts. "The Ravager ships utilize a form of crystalline computation we've never seen before. It's organic in nature, but engineered at the molecular level. They're not just adapting, they're evolving." The room fell silent as the implications sank in. The Ravagers weren't just another hostile species. They were a technological plague that grew stronger with each encounter. The captured combat data showed their ships incorporating features from both human and Zindari vessels. "Show them the long-range scans," Chen ordered. New holograms appeared, displaying massive energy signatures moving through deep space. The Ravager fleet wasn't just regrouping. It was gathering for a full-scale invasion. Hundreds of carrier groups, thousands of support ships, all converging on human and Zindari space. "They see us as a threat now," Hassan explained. "Our alliance proved we could hurt them. They won't risk letting us grow stronger." Vera's neural network pulsed with anxiety. The Zindari collective doesn't have the military strength to repel an invasion force of this size. Even with our combined fleets, we're not going to wait for them to attack, Chen interrupted, her eyes showing a fire that made even the Admiral pause. "Humanity learned long ago that you don't win wars by being reactive. We're taking the fight to them." The holographic display shifted, showing a massive structure under construction in Earth orbit. It dwarfed even the largest ships in the human fleet, its purpose unclear but its power signature off the charts. The next hours were a blur of technical discussions and strategic planning. The humans had designed a weapon that could target the Ravagers' crystalline technology directly, disrupting their ability to evolve and adapt. But they needed the Zindari's expertise in crystal matrices to perfect it. "You've had this in development for months," Vera realized. "Even before you met us. How did you know you'd find allies with crystal technology?" Chen smiled. "We didn't, but humanity has learned to prepare for every possibility. We develop solutions before we even know what problems they might solve." The planning session was interrupted by emergency alerts. A Ravager scout group had appeared at the edge of the system, much sooner than expected. But something was wrong. The ships were broadcasting on all frequencies, their signals chaotic and desperate. "They're running from something," the tactical officer reported. "Energy signatures suggest severe damage. Multiple hull breaches." Before anyone could respond, new contacts appeared on the long-range sensors. The readings defied analysis. Massive vessels of unknown configuration, using technology that neither humans nor Zindari could identify. The Ravager scouts were obliterated in seconds. "Well," Chen said, her voice steady despite the shock rippling through the command center, "it seems the Ravagers weren't the apex predators they thought they were. All ships, battle stations. Let's introduce ourselves to the new players." As klaxons blared and crews rushed to their posts, Vera noticed something remarkable. The humans weren't panicking. If anything, they seemed energized by this new development. Their tactical officers were already analyzing the enemy's attack patterns, their engineers were modifying shields based on the new threat, and their commanders were developing countermeasures in real time. "You're not afraid," she said to Chen as they hurried to their respective posts. "Afraid? Captain Vera, this is what humanity does best. When the odds are impossible, when the enemy is overwhelming, when the situation demands rapid adaptation and innovative thinking, that's when we truly shine." Chen's grin was fierce. The Ravagers thought they were unstoppable because they could adapt to known threats. But humanity, we thrive on the unknown. As the new enemy approached and battle stations sounded throughout the fleet, Vera finally understood why the humans had achieved so much in so little time. They didn't just face challenges, they embraced them. Every setback was an opportunity, every impossible situation a chance to prove that the impossible was just another problem waiting to be solved. The galaxy was about to learn what happened when humanity was truly tested. Forged in fire, the unknown vessels approached with a grace that belied their enormous size. Their hulls seemed to bend light itself, making them appear both solid and ethereal at the same time. The combined human Zindari fleet held position, weapons primed but not yet targeting. "Analysis," Chen demanded, her eyes fixed on the tactical display. "Their technology is impossible," the science officer reported. "They're utilizing some form of space-time manipulation we've never seen before. Our sensors can barely get a reading." Admiral Hassan's voice came through the command channel. "All ships, Maintain defensive formation delta. Let's see what they want before we start a war we might not be able to win. The lead vessel of the unknown fleet suddenly broadcast across all frequencies. The message came not in words or traditional signals, but in pure mathematical concepts that somehow translated directly into understanding. We are the axiom, the message conveyed. Your species have drawn our attention through your conflict with the failed experiment. The Ravagers, Vera whispered. They're talking about the Ravagers. The crystalline entities were created to test emerging civilizations. The axiom continued. To force adaptation and growth. You have demonstrated unexpected potential by resisting them. Now you face judgment. Chen's hand tightened on her command chair. Judgment? By whose authority? We have shepherded the evolution of countless species across millions of years. Those who prove worthy are elevated. Those who fail are removed. The human fleet's tactical network exploded with activity. Officers shared analyses and theories at the speed of thought, while engineers worked to understand the axiom's technology. But it was a young lieutenant's observation that caught Chen's attention. Captain, she said, their ship's energy patterns. They're similar to the space-time distortions we detected during Project Prometheus testing. Chen's eyes widened. They're using the same fundamental principles we stumbled upon. Admiral Hassan, request permission to attempt communication using the Prometheus prototype. Granted, Hassan replied. But be careful, Captain. We don't know what we're dealing with. Chen turned to Vera. We need your crystal matrices, right now. The Prometheus device isn't just a weapon. It's a key to understanding how space-time can be manipulated at the quantum level. What followed was a desperate race against time. As the Axiom fleet held position, human and Zindari engineers worked frantically to modify the Prometheus device. They weren't trying to attack. They were trying to speak the Axiom's language. Ready, the engineering team reported after what felt like hours. Ken took a deep breath. Activate the device. The Prometheus prototype came to life, its crystal matrices glowing with otherworldly energy. Instead of the destructive beam it was designed to deliver, it produced a complex pattern of space-time fluctuations, a mathematical proof of humanity's understanding of the underlying principles the axiom themselves used. The response was immediate. The axiom ships shifted, their impossible geometries realigning as they processed this unexpected development. You understand the fundamental language, the axiom transmitted. This was not predicted. Humanity doesn't wait to be taught, Chen replied, her words converted into pure mathematics by the Prometheus device. We see, we learn, we innovate, and we don't submit to judgment from self-appointed shepherds of the galaxy. You would reject elevation, the gifts we could offer. We'll elevate ourselves, thank you very much, Hassan cut in. And we'll do it our way, at our pace, with the allies we choose. There was a long pause, the axiom ships shifting through configurations that hurt the human mind to observe. When they transmitted again, there was something new in their mathematical language, uncertainty. Your species requires further study. You do not follow predicted patterns of development. Your alliance with the crystalline-based life forms was not anticipated. Your technological progression defies our models. Chen allowed herself a small smile. That's kind of our thing. Humanity has never been good at following anyone else's rules about what we can or can't achieve. We will withdraw, the axiom declared. Your species will be reclassified. The failed experiment will be recalled. Your future development will be observed, but not judged. As the impossible ships began to fade from normal space, their final transmission carried a concept that translated roughly to amusement. Perhaps it is we who have failed to adapt. The command center erupted in celebrations as the Axiom fleet disappeared, but Chen noticed Vera's troubled expression. What's wrong? They called us crystalline-based life forms, Vera said. As if we were another experiment, like the Ravagers. How many species have they manipulated? How many civilizations have they destroyed in their tests? Those are good questions, Chen replied. And I think it's time we started finding answers. Humanity's never been good at leaving mysteries unexplored, and now we have allies who share our curiosity. As the fleet began standing down from battle stations, Chen looked out at the stars with new eyes. The galaxy wasn't just filled with wonders to discover. It was filled with wrongs to right, mysteries to solve, and probably more than a few ancient powers that needed to be taught some humility. Humanity was just getting started. A new dawn. 3 months after the Axiom encounter, the Hyperion's observation deck hosted a gathering unlike any in human or Zindari history. Representatives from 17 different species filled the specially designed environmental chambers, each having responded to the message humanity and the Zindari had broadcast across the galaxy. "Look at them all," Vera said, her bioluminescence reflecting off the transparent barriers. "Every one of them has a story about the Axiom or the Ravagers. Every civilization tested, judged, some uplifted, others left to stagnate." Captain Chen nodded, watching as delegates from silicon-based, energy state, and even gaseous species mingled and shared information. And now they're all here, drawn by the news that someone finally stood up to the galaxy's self-appointed gardeners. The gathering wasn't just a diplomatic summit. It was the first meeting of what would become the Free Species Alliance. In the months since the Axiom's withdrawal, humanity had been busy. The Prometheus device, originally designed as a weapon, had become the key to a new form of faster-than-light communication. Species that had been isolated by the Axiom's influence could now freely share knowledge and technology. Admiral Hassan took the central platform, his voice carried to each environmental chamber through specialized translators. "For too long, our species developed in isolation, guided and constrained by powers that saw us as experiments rather than equals. Today, we change that." The Admiral gestured to a massive holographic display showing the known galaxy. Thousands of points of light indicated civilizations that had been contacted, many of them still recovering from Ravager attacks or Axiom interference. "We've confirmed what we suspected," Hassan continued. "The Axiom didn't just test developing species. They actively prevented cooperation between different civilizations. They created the Ravagers not just to test us, but to keep us focused on survival rather than expansion and discovery." A murmur ran through the gathered delegates. The Axiom's manipulation ran deeper than any of them had imagined. "But they made a crucial mistake," Chen added, stepping forward. "They assumed every species would develop along predictable lines. They never considered that some of us might value diversity over uniformity, cooperation over competition, innovation over stability." Vera moved to join them, her translator converting her bioluminescent pulses into clear speech. "The Zindari believed we had reached the pinnacle of crystal technology. The Merax." She gestured to a chamber containing floating clouds of conscious plasma. "Thought they had mastered energy manipulation. The humans." She made a gesture that translated as amused affection. "They just kept trying everything at once." "That's what makes this alliance different from the Axiom's vision of elevation," Hassan said. "We're not here to judge or guide each other. We're here to learn from each other, to combine our strengths, to discover what we can achieve when we work together as equals." The holographic display shifted, showing the preliminary designs for joint research stations, combined defense fleets, and trade routes that would connect formerly isolated species. But more importantly, it showed the gaps in their knowledge. Vast regions of space still unexplored, technologies still theoretical, mysteries still unsolved. The Axiom thought they were testing us to see if we were worthy of joining their version of an advanced civilization. Chen addressed the gathering. "But we're not interested in joining someone else's idea of advancement. We're creating our own path." She gestured to the assembled delegates. "Look around this room. Every species here has something unique to offer. Technologies that evolved in isolation are already being combined in ways the Axiom never imagined. We're not just sharing knowledge. We're creating entirely new possibilities." The delegates' response was overwhelming. Species that had never communicated before were suddenly sharing theories, offering resources, proposing joint ventures. The human approach to innovation, trying everything, keeping what works, and never accepting arbitrary limitations, was spreading like wildfire among cultures that had been stagnant for millennia. "They're going to come back, you know," Vera said privately to Chen as they watched the proceedings. "The action won't be able to resist studying this chaos we're creating." Chen smiled. "Probably. But next time, they won't be facing isolated species they can test one at a time. They'll be facing all of us, working together, each bringing our own strengths to the table." She looked out at the stars. "And maybe they'll learn something too." As the gathering continued, news arrived from the combined research teams. The Prometheus technology, enhanced by contributions from multiple species, had revealed something extraordinary. Traces of other civilizations that had been removed by the axiom, preserved in the quantum fabric of space-time itself. "Always more mysteries to solve," Chen mused. "More wrongs to right. More impossible challenges to overcome." "Is that excitement I hear in your voice?"